3/4 into the
Yeah.
the topic because we started going. Hey, good morning, everybody. We are live once again, and for those of you that I saw you guys last night, thanks for hanging out at the weird
That's
live
ridiculous. That
stream
was
last night.
ridiculous.
Well, that's I guess that's the downside of being in the West Coast is that it's 3 hour difference if you're in the East Coast from my time, and I know it was like 11 o'clock when I went live last night, but it was my Friday. I hadn't had a cigar in a long time. Just been busy, and ever since I started doing lives in here, well, obviously I'm not going to smoke inside the house, not if I want to stay married.
You get pop out. You get the pop out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my wife won't have it. Sometimes I'm smoking out there and she'll go out and complain that the hallway to the laundry room smells like cigars. So
You want to know something funny? So when I was younger, I used to smoke cigarettes, Newports. You know what I mean?
okay, yeah.
And I used to smoke in the car. In fact, all my friends smoked cigarettes. We all got in the car. We all smoked in the car. The other day, I pulled up to CVS, and a car pulled up next to me with 3 people smoking in the car. And I was like, oh my God, how did I ever do that? Like, how did I ever do that? Like, it was just next to me in a parking lot. And the smell of 3 people smoking in one car was like horrendous. And I'm like, how did I ever do that? I walked into people's houses where they smoke in the house still. Very
Yeah.
rarely. Not that many people do it anymore. Back in the day,
Oh yeah, that was a common thing.
I remember I ran away from home one time when I was in middle school. And I bounced around from house to house, strangers. And this one house that I ended up at, everybody in the house chain smoked Dorels.
Okay.
And there was a layer of smoke halfway from like your chest up. And I remember sitting like on the floor because I didn't want to be on the top layer. And to
Oh,
this
that
day,
was diners. That was diners everywhere in the United States.
to this day, if I smell a Dorel, I get nauseous.
Yeah, diners. Growing up and going to eat at restaurants or at the diners specifically. That's so that you walked in and it was a cloud of smoke. Your head height. You were in the smoke. It was like normal. That was not a big deal.
Dude, they
I
smoked
forgot.
in hospitals, airplanes, buses, trains.
Well, hospitals, it used to be traditionally you would smoke a cigar when the baby was getting, the men in the lobby would be waiting, smoking a cigar. Trying to do that today.
Yeah, no. Everybody looks at like you're evil. You're disgusting.
Oh yeah, somebody's gonna get in your face and tell you what they think. It's not.
You know what though?
Crazy. I mean, how much things have changed. I don't.
I can't be around that. It does make me nauseous now. Being outside and people smoking doesn't bother me, but being enclosed, I can't do it. My sinuses is all tore up. You know what I mean?
Damn, smoking in the hallways.
Oh, at school?
Yeah, I think when I got to high school, yeah, you couldn't smoke on campus. You had to go out to the parking lot, hide from the school proctor to be able to smoke.
Yeah.
Or under the bleachers at the football field.
Yeah. Yeah. So, don't forget to hit the like button, everybody. And the title that Jorge put up there was "Let's Be Judgy." And for those of y'all who think it's gonna be, that type of stream, it's not. We're gonna talk about judging aquariums, but we're not necessarily gonna be shitty about it. You know what I'm saying? I think we've had enough of that. We're gonna have fun with it. We're gonna have a good time.
I think really it's one of those things that's interesting to watch, and I think that's where this conversation came up. And it was we're gonna let's see if he's here because we're gonna talk about him. In my tanks, Nick. He's not the first one to do this. I know everybody. We were watching it, and Funk called me immediately. He goes, dude, I think I have a topic we can talk about. Yeah. And I said, yeah, what is it? And he goes, this. Why do people like to do like reviews, tank reviews, and he goes, I think I have some things to talk about. I said, okay, let's go. It's anytime he comes up with an idea or I do, we'll kind of. We don't really talk about it. We just kind of say, this is the idea. Let's go. And that's kind of what this was. Yeah, it was a little bit clicky bait. Yeah, because of what's happened recently, and of course,
It,
I'm gonna.
it's but it's relative. It's relative.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
related, but it's in the it's not on that spectrum. It's on the
No, no,
opposite
no, no.
spectrum. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's on the good spectrum,
yeah,
in my
and
opinion.
in a way, it is an example of what was it? I guess intended in a good way, kind of went sour by half of the audience, and like I know
Yeah.
you and I. Oh, there he is. Nick just showed up. Hey Jay, thanks for coming in.
Nick,
Well, before we get
what's up?
going, let me say hi
Yeah.
to some of the people that are here with us. Um, I got Kyle in here from Outside In Aquatics. Sam, why are we always yelling? Joe from Price Tag Aquatics. Um, Jeff from Empire of Dirt Aquatics. John from my fish tank aquatics. We have Louise from the Elite Menagerie Habitat. Uh,
What?
Louise, I don't know if you're familiar. I know you're in Pennsylvania. She's or north of
What?
and I know they're north of um God,
That sounds like a very
Philadelphia.
interesting name. I need to find that name. I don't see
Yeah,
it.
they're like the fourth comment from the top.
Oh
And
shit.
they have like a boutique fish store up in what the way I came across them. There was a moment there where I thought I was going to be able to go to the clash this year. Um, but I wanted, me, I got to make the most of all my trips, so
Yeah.
I didn't, I wasn't, I know that there's sometimes like lengthy wait times between checkout time in the morning and your flight for to the
Yeah.
at the airport.
Yeah.
So during that time, since I was going to be in Philadelphia, I started looking up for fish stores within the area to try to go do a tour, and I found that store. They're, I think, about 45 minutes north of the city of Philadelphia. Uh,
Mm.
and but I like their store because it's like a little boutique store. It's not. It's really well organized. The tanks look really good, and that's how I stumbled on their store. It was because I was looking for. I actually typed in Google. I said the best aquarium store in Philadelphia, and they were like in I top three that the names that came up. And of the top three, I like their store because it's more towards aquascapers, and
Yeah.
I'm always going to be more partial to those stores. So that's how
Not me.
I know. Yeah,
And that's
you
kind of
have
what we're talking about.
yeah, exactly. And that's how I found them.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting name, definitely.
Yeah.
That's
Uh
my pet peeve when people have not interesting names.
yeah.
You know, names
So
that
we
make you
got that.
go, "Oh, who the hell is that? Let me go check them out."
I know they were just in Aquashella this weekend, and I was trying to see if they're aware of the fact that the clash is happening right there in their backyard. So
Oh,
I sent
I'm
them a
sure.
I on one of their posts I commented about that. And then we
Yeah.
got the Funkster in here, Jody P, Tropical Fish Company, CR Fish, Cheryl, thank you for joining us. Auntie K, thanks for being here this morning. Just one more fish, Jesse, thank you for joining us. It's Aquatic Exotics. Ed, thank you so much for dropping in. Let me see. Mike Hunt, thanks for being here. And Audra Myers, thanks for listening in. Let's see who else do we got. Don from Prodigal Aquarius out there in England or the UK. Thanks for KJ. Thanks for dropping in. Skipper, thanks for being here. Let's see. Oh man, Alex, Fathom Aquatics, and he did. Wait, I thought he did like a. Let me make sure. I think he gave away some memberships.
He
Thank
did.
you so much for
Yeah,
doing that,
he
Alex.
gave
Or were
some.
you just bragging how long you?
No,
Yeah,
he
he
gave
gifted
some.
5 memberships. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, some memberships. He gave me 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I don't see who got them. I know they normally it
Verse
says
got CC's got George RB3 got him. Slim Tim got him. AZBC got him.
All right. Well,
AZBC.
thank you so much for that, Alex. Uh, I uh, I think I told you right. That I was telling you that I might be going out to the East Coast a little bit more often now. My son was just telling us yesterday that he got his orders to go to Charleston, North Carolina.
He's gonna love it.
So,
He's gonna love it.
I mean, no, South Carolina, because Charlotte
Yeah,
is in South and North. This is
yeah.
Charleston, which is
Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, he's
yeah,
gonna
they're
love
in
it. I
that.
have
You
heard.
know what? I've been looking because immediately my wife goes, go find out how much are the flights and an
Yeah,
Airbnb.
yeah.
It's a nice looking city. I mean, it's expensive too, though.
But and that's because that's happened recently because it's become such a desired place to live. I know when I was in New Jersey over 6 years ago, people were talking about moving to South Carolina because of how of a desired place to live. Everybody who's ever went down there has been like, "Yo, we're moving here. F that. This is beautiful. It's the diversity, the general vibe that everybody's chill with each other." So yeah, it blew up over the last couple of years. So yeah, it's gotten more
Yeah.
expensive. That's what happens when something good happens. You got a nice place to live, and people find out about it. It turns into a crappy place because it's too expensive.
I remember for when I was stationed in Augusta, Georgia for AIT, we took a drive
Mhm.
up north to Myrtle Beach. But
Yeah,
I remember we drove all night, and finally we ended up some off the road kind of divey
yeah,
hotel. We ended up spending the night and got up in the morning, but I don't remember shit other than woods. That's all I remember driving.
yeah,
It was just nothing but dense wood. The only place
yeah,
you didn't have a wood is where the road was cut through, but you
yeah,
couldn't see, either direction more than a few feet before it was just nothing but trees.
yeah,
And then once in a while you go over a bridge and it would be like a swamp.
mm,
And that's what I remember of that area, but it was all green, just green. It's like the total opposite of where I'm at now because everything
yeah,
out here is brown.
yeah.
And then over there, everything. And
Green.
then the part that was also really interesting is that you don't see any mountains.
Yeah,
Out here, you're so used to changing in elevations because of where we're at. Down there, you can't see shit. There's no landmarks. I'm so accustomed to looking out and seeing mountain ranges, seeing things that I can use to navigate. Down there, I can see
yeah,
how people get lost in the
yeah.
in the
Woods.
forest or swamps or
Yeah,
woods, whatever it is they call them, because
yeah,
there's no bearings.
yeah. Well, so we got like 30 people in here. So you want to get into it?
Let's go.
All right. So
Let's
I hit up George about this topic because I was watching In My Tanks, and In My Tanks, he does this thing, and it was the first time I caught it, to be honest with you, where people send in photos. And
mm,
and like you said, he's not the only one that does it. Been other places that do it. I know Father Fish does it. Where people,
oh, fish for thoughts. He's been doing it,
yeah,
Chris. He's been doing
yeah,
it for
where
years.
people send in their photos for people to look at their aquarium and talk about their aquarium, almost like a judgy thing, rate their tank. And then you have channels that will talk about other tanks on other channels. You know what I'm saying? So this thing goes on, and then let's be real, let's be honest. You got fish tubers that will call each other up and be like, "Look at that goddamn, look at that thing! I can't believe he put that on video." Like, you know what I'm saying? So talking about other people's tanks is just you know what I mean? It happens. It
I guess
happens.
I guess you could separate this into two categories. There's the ones where you have people voluntarily submitting their tanks
Mhm.
to be rated or be
Yeah,
talked about, right?
yeah,
And then you have the ones where the guys will go find stuff and they'll do like a reaction to that,
yeah,
to whatever it is they're finding.
yeah,
And I get it. There are some tanks out there that question the judgment of the people that are keeping them for various reasons. But it got interesting to when I guess we want to focus more on the side of when people start evaluating the
Yeah,
criteria that people are using to evaluate an aquarium
exactly.
and and what I noticed about what Nick was doing is it's from a different, and I think that's what really clicked with you because
Yeah.
a lot of what people you see uh when people submit aquariums to get rated, to a point it's kind of like how pretty my tank is. How you're rating to see how pretty it is.
Tell
Where
everybody my tank looks good, like they're showing off, and they want other people to
yeah,
agree with
of
it.
course it's a flex. It's a flex. You
But
know that's
but
why
they're proud of. Listen,
I
I'm not
submitted
mad at
mine.
that. Yeah, if they're proud of their tanks, hey, let your freak flag fly. Let everybody see it. I get that. What kind of struck me funny about that thing. And if you're wondering, I don't remember, Nick, which one it is. It's the one where you had the other dude. It was a skinny white guy, young
Oh,
looking.
they were evaluating the aquascape competition on that one.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember looking at that and listening to it and going like, my tank don't look nothing like any of these. And I never have tanks that look like these. So so according to these tanks, mine are crappy. Like I'm not a good fish keeper. You know what I'm saying? If I was new to the hobby and I was judging my
Yeah,
tanks based off of what I was watching, I would feel bad about myself.
yeah.
You know, because I feel like I wouldn't be I wouldn't be in the same, I wouldn't be living up to the standard. But everybody has a different standard.
Well, that's the whole thing, and that's what I've always said. It's the same thing with filtration. You know, there's arguments that go back and forth. You got to use
Yeah,
canisters, you got to use hanging bags, sponges, whatever. I've always said filtration really is based on what you're trying to accomplish because you're not
yeah,
going to put a canister filter on a bunch of fry that you're trying to grow out because you're going to siphon them up the intake,
yeah,
and that's the last time you'll see them. And again, with with uh with aquariums, it's exactly the same thing. What are you trying to accomplish? Obviously, those aquascape tanks that you were seeing there,
yeah,
one, they're not designed to be forever tanks. They're to capture a moment in a snapshot. It's a whole year, progression to be able to set it up for the perfect picture, and then it's gone. You
yeah,
know that those tanks get broken down because it's the same one they're going to use the following year,
mhm,
or it's kind of like in reality, a lot of it is not sustainable because just of maintenance you would have to do to try to keep up
yeah,
that same look. Um, so there's that, and obviously that's going to look very different again from a tank where you're trying to raise fish.
yeah.
And it's all the purpose. Yeah, go ahead.
So I had a discussion yesterday because I was also watching Hagen Hill Designs, and he was talking about his aquarium, and they was talking about TDS, and I'm like, why do everybody talk about TDS? It's never been a factor in me keeping aquariums, but people they judge, they like, oh well, TDS is a factor in your aquarium, and I caught and I was Brighton mentioned something in an aquarium, and I was like, I'm not doing this on text. I'm gonna call him. And so we had a discussion about TDS and stuff like that, and we had a discussion about that live stream that in my tanks. And one of the things that I thought was pretty freaking cool that I did not catch this criteria was did the aquarium fulfill its purpose?
Yeah.
And I did not catch that part of the live stream, but I thought that would be the best way to judge an aquarium.
Yes.
Because me personally, I have an aquarium right there where I am breeding yellow fire mouse. Now, because I am breeding yellow fire mouse, I am not cleaning the glass on. I am leaving it alone as much as possible. I'm doing water changes only. So the tank looks dingy, but they are in the process of the mating stuff. So as crappy as this tank looks, it's actually a success. But had I put this tank without any kind, if I just took a picture of it, or I showed this tank without saying this is, explained all the specifics, it would get judged pretty harshly.
Well, it's this is again going back to this. What happens the moment that somebody sees a tank full of green water? It's like, there's all these alarms. And yeah, how many times do you hear people asking the question, how do I get my water crystal clear?
Yeah.
And and it all depends, because let's say in my case, when I was trying to grow out the angelfish fry, having green water was probably one of the best things that I
Great.
could have.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's free food for the wigglers, when they're going from that from being in the sack to becoming free swimmers, in that in between stage, it's free food. They're gonna consume that stuff, and that's how you're gonna be able to successfully grow them out. But for somebody that is just looking at a snapshot, they're not gonna understand what the whole reasoning for that. Immediately,
Yeah.
I always I'm interested, especially more like on Facebook. You see those where somebody will post sharing a picture of their aquarium, and it's like, that's so horrible. You're gonna kill the fish. Water's all green. What are you doing? Get out of the hobby,
Yeah.
kind of thing, attacks and stuff like that. But the
Facebook is the
person didn't
worst.
even say what was the purpose of
Facebook
it.
is
It could.
terrible. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I know.
Mm, I don't know how to. I don't know
I
how
always
people.
in Facebook, I don't see it so much happening now on YouTube, but I still see it happening a lot in Facebook, because I think Facebook still has a lot of new hobbyists that are finding these
Yes, they do.
groups and thinking they're going to be able to get some help, only to be torn down and ripped apart. But they'll be like, "Oh, my fish is sick. What's wrong with it?" And that's all they post a really bad picture, and they don't even tell you anything other than that. And people are diagnosing it right immediately. Oh, it's
Yeah.
got this, you got to do this, you got to, get up on one leg, jump three
Yeah.
times,
Do the hokey pokey.
do the hokey pokey, and it's
And
just it
I'm
doesn't.
gonna
I
be
don't
100%
understand it.
honest with you. As far as Facebook goes, if somebody shows a picture of their fish like they do, what's wrong with my fish? I'm gonna be real with you. 1 out of 10 comments is correct, in my opinion. 9 of those comments is BS. Just people don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they write it with such, vigor that they sound like they know what they're talking about, but it's really crap. They really don't know what they're talking about. But that's why I can't stand. I want to go into Facebook and be like, no, this is the problem, but I know what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna spend my entire life fighting with people on Facebook, because you know how I do.
Yeah,
You know, so
it's like a dog with a bone, won't let it go. Mike Hunt is saying, anybody have experience with the trade ups? I'm not sure. Do you know what that
trade
is?
ups, trade
Yeah,
ups. I have no idea. What do you mean trade ups?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I guess tryops.
Chris,
Is it?
Chris just answered your question.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It makes sense to me.
What did Chris say?
Mike, I tried to trade up my wife and she got upset with me. Oh, tryops. He's saying tryops.
Yeah,
No, I don't have any. I don't have any experience with that. Tryops.
yeah,
Uh,
that's funny.
um. So yeah,
And then Chris wonders why that parrot comes after him all the time
yeah.
and tries to beat him up.
So I remember when I first got on YouTube like 7 years ago, or watching it heavily 7 years ago, the idea of judging an aquarium by the health of their plants was never a thing. It kind of came along with the trend with the trend of Planet Tanks on YouTube taking over.
Well, I think where that kind of became a thing is probably from people like myself, that I watched the Knock Escape Tank more as an inspiration Here's the thing too, with those aquascape tanks, people don't realize how expensive they really are,
Oh God,
because
yeah.
it's not like you're starting out like most of us where you take one plant, you trim it, replant it, trim it. Those things are set up from the go pretty
Brand
much the way
spanking
they
new.
look. Yeah, pretty much the way they look. And so just being able to buy all the plants, all the hardscape, all that stuff just to get it going, you're looking at quite some expense. But that's like a different version of the hobby.
It
That's
is. But
it's a
that's what I'm saying. There's so many versions of aquariums. I think we have a bad habit of judging them all in the same with the same criterias for the most part. You know what I mean? I think in general, we use the same criterias for judging every tank. And now that fish keep planet tanks and aquascaping is so prevalent on YouTube, and we consume so much YouTube, I feel like we use a lot of the aquascaping and planet aquarium standards to judge a lot of aquariums. You know,
yeah.
like I said, my aquariums would be judged very, very poorly in a lot of judging things, but they're doing exactly what they're meant to do. They're either a holding tank, a grow out tank, or a breeding tank. Or like when I moved to my new place, these are bare tanks. Nothing. There's no sand, no decorations. All there is a spawning mound. Now, where my tank differs as far as how it's set up is the back of it has a buttload of filter media that promotes beneficial bacteria. Now, if these are holding tanks for fish to be sold, in that aspect, these tanks are like really, really set up well. But
That
at first
Steve?
glance, they're crap. You know what's
Oh,
that?
Fishy Plant Man. Okay. I was gonna say, hey, that's Steve kind of rechanging the name from the other channel. No, but it's a different channel. It says Fishy Plant Man. I think we need to start talking about the difference between unhealthy clear water and the healthy dirty water. Yeah, it's again, it's one of those things. It's like I kind of almost equate keeping aquariums like keeping cars. You're gonna have cars that you use to move cargo and load and get people around and stuff like that, and you're gonna have people that are gonna modify their cars to the point where they make supercars out of them. It's
Yeah,
kind of the same thing with these aquariums. You're gonna set it up for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
yeah,
It's and there's a lot of bells and whistles you can add or take away to achieve your outcome. I think really, and before we get away too much from this, with in my tanks, the one thing that I thought was very different about what he was doing was that categorization.
yeah,
Does it need the need? And I thought that was very clever because that's what makes it so different from all the other you know reviews or comments about aquariums. Is at the end of the day, he's giving the purpose what it's intended for a certain value, and I thought that was very interesting. It's a
yeah.
take that I personally hadn't even considered.
I thought, like I said, I didn't watch the live stream to where they got to the point. Is it certain? Did it meet the purpose that it was designed for? I didn't get to that point, but once I heard, Brent and Doodoo Boy say that is one of the
I'll
things,
be right
I,
back.
I felt like, yo, that's a very important criteria. I think that's the ultimate criteria that we really should be judging aquariums on. Is it meeting the purpose of its of what it's intended for? You know what I mean? For instance, but just judging it on the visual aesthetics alone, or how clear the water is. For instance, you showed your aquarium on that live stream. And I'm not talking bad about your aquarium. I'm mentioning what's his name said about good water and bad water and whatever. I
Yeah.
remember looking at your water and seeing a slight white tint to it, right? Um, a slight murkiness to it, which a lot of people have that, and their water parameters are perfectly fine. I can't live with that personally; it drives me nuts. But
But
for
there's
me,
actually a
I
thing that
would,
happens with when you're trying to record an aquarium like that.
yeah, yeah,
That when you're looking at it, and
Yeah.
this is something that Corey had brought up, and I was wondering why that was, because I have aquariums where I look at it where
Yeah.
I'm physically there, and it looks crystal clear. I go
Uh-huh.
to do a video, and
Uh-huh.
I'm actually looking at the screen of the camera
Yeah.
and looking at the aquarium, and it's two different images.
Yeah.
I guess when you start recording, and people that are very camera savvy like Alex and Nick, I guess there's something where they're able to capture any minute particulate in the water, and it'll
Yeah.
reflect the light,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
that's why they look like they're hazy. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, because I would literally sit there with the phone like this and looking at it's like, what is going on? I'm seeing that my water looks cloudy on the viewfinder, but I'm looking at it with my eyes and it doesn't do that. And I guess there's something that happens.
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at. Like, if I were to look at that tank, that would be something that would stand out as a ding, because of the way
Yeah.
I keep aquariums. I don't have a lot of particulates in my water because I do stupid amounts of water changes. Like, it don't really make sense, but it does if you know how I keep fish. But for most people, it's a lot. It's a lot, you know. Um, it's part of my little OCD, whatever, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way I do it. So I don't really have a whole lot of particulates like that. You know what I mean? So when I see that, I would judge that harshly, you know? But to be real, does it affect the water whatsoever? Does it affect the life of the fish? No, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. So I just feel like, we need to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to judging aquariums. You know?
Mhm.
I aquascape, but I always start with these fish need what this space look like, including the plants. I was talking to Branton, and I said I said the best aquascape I ever did was totally accidental. I had an aquarium and I was like, I'm going to aquascape this. I'm going to watch all these aquascaping videos and I'm going to get tips and tricks and all that. And I put this thing together. It had a trail. You know what I mean? Like if the fish had legs and they was walking around trails and stuff, I guess, I don't know. I don't know why there's trails under the water, but apparently people put trails
Forest.
in the water. Yeah, the forest with little. Anyway, and the tank.
Hyper, what is it called? The one that Jose
Oh
had
God,
recently
yeah,
put, that
yeah.
hyperspace.
See, I personally thought that was hideous. I thought that was hideous. I was like, what is that? I've never jumped in a lake or river or stream and saw that configuration.
I'll
But
tell you
anyway,
what, if I did, I'd be jumping right out just as
yeah, I mean,
quick,
like,
because I'd
yo,
be thinking something.
yeah. So I took that aquarium basically because it was like spur of the moment, water was leaking out everywhere. And I basically took everything out of it and dumped it in another aquarium and kind of just went flipped it all in there. After it all settled, now I had Java moss in there, I had Java fern, I had Anubias, I had a bunch of different, beginner aquascaping plants. After it all settled, it looked exactly like you would see if you went in the water and you saw a pristine environment. To me, that is a nice aquascape. Seeing some strange geometric crazy formation like on Joy of Fish Keeping. If you didn't see that, Joy of Fish Keeping just went to Aquashella and he kind of showed some aquascaping competition tanks. There was one that had some strange black hole. It looked like an anus, a wooden anus is what it looked like. I wanted to put a curse on it. You know what I mean? Am I wrong? Am I lying? It looked like a wooden anus.
You know what? It's funny how everybody's gonna have a different take on it. You know what it reminded me of? The movie Tremors. You know, the worms that would come out of the ground and they'd open up their mouths. That's kind of what it reminded me of. That and Star Wars. You know, where they try to push Luke into.
Anyway, I thought, what I think about when I see stuff like that? Before noon, holy cow.
I know, I saw that.
When I see stuff like that, I think about two things. I think about, God Almighty, what would happen if I needed to take a fish out? Firstly,
Yeah.
like, oh, how am I going to get a fish out of there?
Well, we had
Secondly,
this conversation.
huh?
We had this conversation.
Yeah, a lot of these aquascape tanks, they have an ungodly amount of dirt built up that damn near takes up, I swear to God, after you put all the dirt built up to the back of the aquarium, like if this is the aquarium, right? There's like a mound of dirt like this much. You know what I mean? To give it that 3D look or whatever. And then you have all the aquascape and stuff. I'm like, you done took away half of the water volume. You know what I mean? And I remember back in the day, people talking about the gas bubbles building up inside of, the dirt. And I was like, what do you do about that? But
Wait,
anyway,
I still argue that's not a real thing. I mean,
I
I get bubbles, I get the sulfate bubbles in my aquarium, and I'm yet to see it, wipe out a tank or even kill a
it's never
fish.
happened.
And
It's never happened to me.
the ones that'll release them are the cories because they're constantly moving the substrate.
Yeah.
They're the ones that release them, and they're fine. I know Steve used to argue with me about that was like a real thing, and I used to tell him, dude, I don't see that happening in any of my aquariums. I haven't experienced that, so I don't know where that rumor got started or how it got started, or if it's a myth or it's actually a real thing. I just have not personally experienced that.
If it was all released at the same time, maybe. I don't know. I've never had a problem with it. But like the TDS, somebody has. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's important to somebody because of how they keep fish, but not to me. And so I don't see it as a priority when judging an aquarium.
See, Jay says that he's had the J Rock that he had where he lost and took out his tank. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what it is about him. I see him happening in my aquarium, but I've never run into that.
Yeah.
Most of my filters, most of my setups are unfiltered. Well, you see, and that's not even. I hate that label because that's not correct.
That's your pet peeve. That's something that you really. Every time you get a chance to talk about it, everything in the tank is a filter.
It's biological filtration, and the reason it upsets me because it's at the very core of the filtration system. Biological filtration is, the quintessential filtration you have in any body of water.
Yeah,
and so that's why it kind of grinds me a little bit because it's kind of like, no, that's misrepresenting what's really happening, and I'm very guilty of saying that too because I sometimes find myself having to say it so that people understand or can visualize what I'm talking about. But we got to come up with a better term for that.
So I think Fathom brought up a good point that I've noticed in my aquariums. Whenever I did have a gas bubble come up to the surface, it was like, it didn't like dissipate into little, particles. It stayed in one bubble until it hit the top of the water. Then it released. I don't know, brother. I don't know. But yeah, I think that was a good point. But back to my original thing.
Yeah,
I keep cichlids, right? When you keep cichlids, space is the number one criteria in keeping cichlids. Space.
Yeah.
Space. They need room. They need room. So having a crazy amount of decor or gravel taking up half of the water volume is ridiculous to me because of the way I keep fish. So it would be wrong for me to judge somebody else's aquarium using my criteria. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just there's a reason why a lot of those like the aquascape tanks, a lot of the times it's going to be minimally stocked and you're not going to have a whole lot of fish, and it's usually going to be very small fish. And the only reason I really feel that people are putting fish in there is because it's one of the criterias for the picture. And usually they're just kind of added at the last, the last couple of weeks before that final shot is taken. And then the tank gets broken down after that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I know. Well, okay, I see but even the ones that are at Green Aqua, which is all like a aquascape gallery, a lot of those are Iwagumi kind of setups, and those are a little bit easier to maintain because it's just rocks and carpeting plants, and those I can see them lasting a little bit longer. But like the ones they do, like forest and stuff like that, I mean, if that was really a thing, if it was really sustainable, like long term, you don't think that the aquarium that Kashi Amano did in Portugal, what the one his last work of art or whatever you want, his masterpiece. It's that long L-shaped tank. He if sustaining these highly sophisticated aquascapes, he would have done that tank that way. But no, he reverted to doing something that's more sustainable, more natural. Although the biggest surprise to me was when I talked to Dr. Anthony, who has the research center down there in Peru. One of the things that I asked him immediately is like, well, what kind of plants are in the waterways? He goes, none. He goes, out in the Amazon, it's all basically fallen tree branches and rocks for the majority of what's in the main water body. You have a lot of riparian areas, a lot of floodplains where you get a lot of the plants that we buy, but they're not submerged underwater, year round.
I
The
did
other
a
thing
video on
is,
that.
yeah, the other thing is there's so many tannins in the water that the sun doesn't get down to the plants that are in the main
Yeah,
body of water.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, there's all these things that, yeah, go ahead.
In fact, I mean, if you ever come to Florida, I'm going to take you around the places. We're going to go do some native collecting. But so I've said, Florida is a great place for plant people because a lot of the plants that people buy are living in Florida waterways. But if you'll notice, because we have a lot of tannins in these waterways, these freshwater waterways. But if you notice, all the plants are about a foot and a half to 2 feet tops on the sides. Anything lower than that, bare. Unless it's
Mhm.
a lily that reaches to the top.
Yeah.
But the aquarium plants that everybody buys, they're only about 2 feet or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right on that 100%.
Yeah, because
The
they have
Amazon,
to be able to have exposure from the sunlight to be able to grow, to photosynthesize. And if you start getting to the deeper sides of the water, and if there's any sort of this not discoloration, but tannins or anything like that, the light gets blocked out, so you're not
yeah.
going to have successful plant growth.
If you guys haven't subscribed to Project Piaba, you really need to. You
Yeah,
really, I would say the Project Biaba, was it below waters?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
Luca. Is it Luca something?
I don't know. And there's another
Yeah,
one,
yeah. There's
a,
Mikoji.
a German guy.
Mikoji does a lot of underwater.
Yeah,
Well, even the stuff that he was doing in Venezuela,
yeah,
he goes in a lot of the waterways. A lot of the same thing. It's all the plants tend to be like on the banks, on
yeah,
the edges of the waterways, unless you're going into a flood zone that six
yeah,
months out of the year
yeah,
is there's no water in it,
yeah.
and
I,
that's where you get a lot of those plants, but they're not
I,
there full time.
I agree 100%. I think
Hey, Sean.
because if we are as fish keepers trying to provide the best habitat for the living inhabitants, the fish of the aquarium, we would actually be judging these fish, these tanks, all completely wrong. We would have to try to do biotopes. Anything less than a biotope would never be acceptable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um, but that's not what we do. We don't do that. We judge it on looks, we judge it on prettiness, we judge it on cleanliness, we judge it on the plants. Some people have aquariums for plants, and that's a whole different judging characteristics.
yeah.
That's new to me. That's alien to me, to be honest with you. I've met people that at the pet store, they come to there. I'm setting up a new aquarium, and I'm going to do this. I'm gonna have this light. I'm gonna have this substrate. I'm getting this plant, this plant. What are you gonna put in it for fish? I don't know. It's totally it's a totally different. It's way in the back. The tank is there for plants, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't judge it. What do you think about it? Sure is green.
It sure is green.
I don't know.
Yeah, but again, that would go to what Nick says. Is it serving its purpose? That's, at the end of the day, that's got to be, I think, the number one thing, or at least the category that has the biggest weight when trying to judge an aquarium is, does it meet its purpose? And I thought that was so clever that he was able to. I mean, as long as we've been in the hobby, I mean, I hadn't even thought about that really as a category.
Yeah, I thought that was Bratton told me that was one of the characters. I was like, oh, that makes everything okay then, in my opinion. But if we're gonna talk about does it serve its purpose, we have to talk about grow out tanks.
Okay.
At what point does that grow out tank no longer serve its purpose?
I'll tell you, when the fish are getting too big for the damn tank, that's when.
How long do we give people a pass on? All right, brother, you got a clown knife in there that's about 10 and a half, damn near 12 inches long. It's a 40 breeder, when's that new tank coming? You know what I mean? Like,
well, and that's the big trap that a lot of hobbyists fall into, where it's always and that I've seen that happen a lot. It's happened to me too when I was first starting out. It's one of those things where it's like, a year down the road, I'm going to be able to get something much bigger to be able to make sure that that's the appropriate. A lot of the times we end up failing at that for whatever reasons, just life in general. Shit'll take priority over having to spend $200 or $300 on an aquarium.
Guys are terrible at that.
Yeah.
Males are terrible at that. I give you a great for instance. Audra, you still in the chat? I've been trying to give Audra one of my Fahaka puffers for so long. They're still small enough that you can put them in a 20. She says no, she's not going to accept one of my free Fahaka puffers because she doesn't have a large aquarium. And I'm like, well, why don't you just get the thing now and then get a large aquarium? Females, look, no. Females are awesome at getting their shit together first before they get the fish. I'm not saying all females. In general, females are way better at getting the long-term thing set up before. Whereas guys is like, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and get that fish. I have a tote. I got a sponge filter. I'm put it in the tote. Put it in sponge filter. I'll get a tanks later. I've
been guilty of that myself.
I've done it. So I do admit, females are way better at self-control.
And then you go, oh, well, I'll just build the plywood tank.
Yeah. But I know I got Audra's address on me somewhere. And I do believe if I just sent it to her, she would have to take it. She'd be forced to take it.
Return back to sender.
She would not return a fish in the mail. After it's been in the mail, she's not going to turn around and put it back in the mail. She's just too nice of a person. She'd be forced to keep the fish. So I think that's women are smarter than men.
Yeah, for the most part.
I mean, I ain't gonna say no. I mean, I think men have different smarts. I think they're equally important. I
think our strong suit is that we don't think too much about it and we just dive in and go, all right, we'll figure it out on the way.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Audra, if I just sent you the sucker in the mail and it shows up at your door, what are you gonna do? Huh? You gonna flush it? No. You're gonna be like, oh, I gotta do something about this. You know what I mean? Boom, it's yours. I guarantee you she'll get mad. I won't send me this. I don't have nowhere to put it. Now I gotta buy a bigger tank. Rah. But So what? Is Aquafunk sexist? No, I believe that males or females are perfect
Together.
matches that need to be. We complete each other. That's what I believe. So I'm not sexist. There are things that I cannot do that Mida can do. There are things that Mida can't do that I can do. I just believe, it's like plugs and innies and outies. That's all it is. Don't think about it too. Get it done. Buy the tank. Then they're on. Yeah. Yep. I get you.
What did Nick say that she's got Audra throwing up?
I think. Let me see. I don't know.
Oh, PR professional. Okay.
Anyway, I just saying I'm gonna send her the fish. And then we could go ahead and say, Audrey, you're a terrible person for having that fish in that little tank. I can't believe you showed that.
You setting her up.
Oh, he asked me if I was sexist. That's what she's doing that to. Yeah.
Oh, she thought he said sexy, so that's why she was throwing up.
Well, yes, of course. I'm definitely sexy. I mean,
that's worse.
I mean, really, come on now. I'm definitely sexy. But anyway, I don't know. I felt like I was left out when I was watching that live stream on how my tanks would be judged so poorly because they're not planted and they're not aquascaped. And I started thinking, because a lot of how I think, I always think to myself, how would someone new to the hobby feel about this? And Funk is looking better since he stopped plucking his eyebrows. Plucking my plucking my eyebrow. What are you talking about? They got a problem with this thing right here. I don't know. This is natural. I don't know what the hell. Look, y'all got one eyebrow. I think between Piplin and Foxy, they have two eyebrows. Between the two, they have two eyebrows. But wait, what was I saying? Where was I at? Oh, so yeah, I always think, like, if I was new to the hobby and I was watching these tanks and I was watching people judge these tanks, I would feel bad about my aquariums. I would feel bad. I would feel like I would have a unrealistic expectation on how I should keep aquariums.
But that's the whole thing. You as an individual have to understand what your expectations, I mean, what your limitations are.
I agree. I agree. But if you're watching your favorite YouTuber and they don't they only speak at this level and never come down to this level, the people watching them are just trying to skip so many levels to get to where you're at. For instance, TDS. Well,
this is very true. This is very true because when you have multiple tanks, not all your tanks are going to be display tanks. If you have multiple tanks, it's because you're venturing into doing other types of things, whether it's breeding, whether it's growing out fish. It's there's a whole other stuff that's going on. Well, I think my fish room used to be an example of that because I had a few tanks that were display tanks, and then I had other ones where I was trying to reproduce fish, breed fish, and they obviously look very different. And then again, what you were going back to what you were saying of when you're trying to set up a breeding tank and not thinking about the consequences of what you're doing. And I knew better because I've been doing this for a while. Originally the breeding rack that I had was supposed to be no plants, bare bottoms. Actually, that's what they were supposed to be. Because that's, at the end of the day, if you're really trying to pump out fish out of there, that's the best setup. Because for the thing that you said, at the moment that you go in there to try to remove these fish, it's a lot easier. You're not having to deal with obstacles with inside the aquarium. And I didn't leave it alone. I went against my better judgment, started putting in trimmings and growing out plants. Yeah, they looked okay. They looked, green and stuff. But the minute that it came to trying to harvest out of there, it was a pain in the butt. And
Well, you know why that is, right? Because
what?
you, as a YouTuber that have 2,000 subscribers, has a fish room that's unattainable.
Mm, yeah, I guess so.
It's unrealistic on how
But
you keep
see
your fish.
that's the funny part is I really don't think we talk about this enough. And the reason I say that is a lot of what you see in my fish room was stuff that was given to me. I
Yeah,
didn't even have
yeah,
to buy it. And
yeah,
that goes especially to the bigger aquariums in my fish room were all gifted to me. And it's one of those weirdest things where I'm not asking for them. It's just people realize I think if you do this long enough, people start hitting you up because they know you have aquariums and they'll go, "Hey, do you want this tank? Do you want this? Or you want that?" You've had it happen. You have a 300-gallon that you haven't set up for the same reason. It was
yeah.
something that was
But I
given to
still
you.
have it. You
Yeah.
had a 300-gallon and you just gave it away.
Yes, I did.
I don't want to
I
talk to
did.
you.
And
I
I
don't want
don't
to.
even regret doing it.
I'm still
It would
mad
have
at
been
you over there.
cool because it would have opened up a whole other side of the hobby that I haven't tapped into yet. And that's like bigger fish. Um,
Yeah,
being able to keep
yeah,
bigger fish.
yeah.
And
You need
and
to
I
stop being a
I think at some point I might do that. It's just for me the hardest thing is having a like a species only tank where you only have one. You have
yeah,
a big massive tank and you only have one fish.
yeah,
But I get also and I understand that that those fish are not necessarily fish. They become like a pet
yeah.
because a lot of those
Definitely.
fish do develop this
Yeah,
not that they develop, but they have this personality, and there's a different connection with those type of fish. They're no longer a fish; they become a pet. And I've heard that said from people that keep the bigger fish.
it is true.
Anything that's like an Oscar or bigger.
Wet pet, wet pet.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but then
Everybody's
you get into
asking next time you get a 300-gallon tank to give it to them.
okay, you got it, Mike.
Except for MNC Aquatics, he thinks you should put a beta in it.
Yeah, too bad Ben's not here because I got a bunch of 10 gallons that he can have for free. He's always asking for a free tank. And I wish he would come over to my channel. I'll give him all the tanks that he wants for free. He
Yeah.
just got to come and get them.
So I don't know. So I'm getting the takeaway from this is I feel in general I don't have a problem with people talking about other people's tanks. I don't. I really don't. I in fact I encourage it. But we should think about all the factors in play as far as what is it for, what kind of fish in it, what type of fish keeper it is. You know what I mean? A lot of fish keepers, that dictates what the whole deal is. You know what I mean? Like I am not a planet or aquascape or shrimp guy.
There's
You
also this
know?
other thing that happens, especially in when trying to create content. How much of what you're saying and doing is for shock value to try to get attention?
True.
Whether the the only issue that I would have with that is if that's what you're trying to do, you can't get upset because you draw negative attention. But you're absolutely right, Funk. What kind of fish keeper and the amount of time you're willing to put into it? Is that what you're laughing at?
Nah, Ross, Baltimore.
Oh, Ross, you're
Just be
really
happy.
ugly.
Hey, just show everybody the pictures. Be like, look at my baby. Look. Ooh. You know what I mean? But but yeah, I'm go ahead, keep finishing. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just I know you've always said that the minute you decide to put yourself out there, whether it's a picture, content,
Yeah.
whatever, you're kind of opening up to get criticism from either side of the aisle. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You I think one of the things that also doesn't get talked about a lot um, for people that are considering becoming content creators. Here, look at the picture of my tank. They'll look at it.
Bro, that's almost the sentiment of a lot of people, unless you're gonna be like, oh, that's great. If it's not great, then that's the sentiment.
Yeah.
But
Is that the minute you start posting stuff out there, you're
yeah.
kind of exposing yourself. And that's it's one of those things where you inherently have to have a little bit of a thick skin,
Yeah.
and so that you don't take everything so personal.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everybody is wired the same way. There's some people that are a lot more sensitive,
Yeah.
um, and they don't tolerate um, any negative comments. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you have to put up with them,
Yeah.
but it's one of the, and I understand why so many people are hesitant to that they want to do content, but that's the nagging concern in the back of their head is that the minute that I do this, what are people going to say? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where only you are going to know yourself better than anybody else to know if that's really going to affect you or not.
Yeah. So there's another subject when we're talking about judging other people's aquariums, good, bad, or indifferent. How we judge them, what are the criterias that we use to judge them? And listen, I'm telling everybody in the chat, please don't turn this into a thing. It is only one example out of many possible examples. It's just the most recent. So please don't be in the chat. This is not about that. How you feel about the health and safety of the fish is another way people judge aquariums. They might see an aquarium and feel like, oh, you're being abusive to the fish. And some people use tank size as as a metric on abuse. Where
Yeah.
other people may be like, all right, I'm cool with that tank size. There are other people who feel like, they have to say something because that fish is in a tank that's way too small. So I have to judge it. I have to talk about it. I don't know. What you think about that?
I think there
Or
is.
overstocking?
Yeah, well, you see, that's the whole thing, because if you're keeping African cichlids, you definitely need to
Yeah.
have it overstocked,
Yes.
because if not, then somebody's going to get picked on and you're going to have a bunch of dead fish. But I think in general, if we're being real, we're all committing some sort of abuse with the fish we're keeping, because none of these fish are 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 in areas that are even a 300-gallon area. They have a lot more area that they're
They have an entire lake, river, stream,
a whole
water
water
system.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's an argument. Well, yeah, those fish won't get beyond that point or whatever,
but they have the
but
option.
you can't. Huh?
They have the option.
Yeah. Granted, something startles them enough, and they're gonna swim. But yeah, it's hard to say, I guess, because we fall into that whole thing again. I know everybody that usually finds himself in that situation is thinking in the back of the head, I know this is too small for this. I'm going to change it. But at what point is it you are late to the party? You should have done that
Yeah.
maybe a few months back and actually done that. And I don't know. That's why I'm always Larry. My argument with monsterfish. Look, I'm of the opinion you should be allowed to keep whatever fish you want. There should be no restrictions. You should have the freedom to do that. But I think what dictates and what separates that is the price. I don't know why some of the biggest fish that are out there are the cheapest fish you can buy. They cost a lot less than a little tetra sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
it
I
does
get it.
not make any sense. I think the pricing for any monster fish should equate what you're at least a quarter of what's going to cost you to house it correctly. If
Can I well I could give you a little bit of insight on you talking about the price at the pet store. For
Yeah,
instance, the smaller fish that is a little bit harder. You have to pick out eggs and stuff like that. The work it takes to get those fish to become something, how delicate they are. Whereas the bigger fish, you can just throw them in a pool and just wait, and they'll have fry. You scoop them up. You know what I mean? I think it's easier to get fry from these cichlids than it is a lot of these smaller fish.
no, and I get that,
Yeah.
but I think what I'm trying to get is if you're willing to spend $500, $600 on a fish like let's say a clown knife,
Yeah.
as a fry size. If you're willing to spend that much, you're going to have the resources to be able to buy the adequate tank to have them. Versus if it only costs you, $5, $6 for the same
Oh,
fish.
I see what you're saying. Use the price as a deterrent.
As a deterrent. If, for example, an arapaima, we all know arapaimas get massive. You really need a swimming pool to be able to keep them. That's how big they
bigger
get.
than a swimming pool.
I know, but I'm but if you can buy an arapaima for $20, how many people are going to go, oh, I can do that. It's only $20. We see it happen all the time. And then it quickly gets out of hand. And now they're trying to figure out what's going to do with this fish. Now, if that same fish were to cost you $1,000, you and I would not get it, because we would be like, why do I need $1,000 fish? But you're going to have people that will say, yeah, it's no big deal. I can set up, I can create a lake for it or whatever. And that's
someday.
I think that's
someday.
Yeah. But I think that should be more of an indicator, like red tail catfish. Yeah. How often do you walk into a fish store and they're like $5, $8 for a little one? And most people think, oh yeah, I'll get it and I'll grow it out in a little swimming pool and I'll do this and this and that. But they grow so quick and so fast. I'm not saying you can't keep them. I just think they should cost more. And that's going to deter a lot of the people that are not set up to be able to do that upgrade. I think that's what I'm getting at.
That would take the breeders having to raise their price and lower their sales dramatically.
But at the same time, they're still going to be able to make out money because they're going to be able to sell it at a higher price.
But not as many people are going to buy them. For instance,
well, yeah, and that's the whole thing, though. That's the problem. Because too many people do have access to them that shouldn't have access to them.
I get what you're saying, but as a breeder,
there's a reason why fish rescues exist, is from people that impulsively bought a fish they wouldn't going to be able to house.
I get that, but let's say I'm breeding Oscars. Okay, so Oscars are a fish that's sold at a cheap price and end up being put in small tanks because they're so available. Say I'm breeding Oscars. Now I can breed Oscars and they can go for $5-10 at the fish store, because but the law says, listen, you have to sell Oscars at $300 to deter people from buying Oscars willy-nilly. Well, me as a breeder be like, well, shit, if I have to raise the prices of my Oscars, nobody's going to buy them. So where I was selling thousands of Oscars at $5, now I'm selling a handful of Oscars for $300. And it's going to be...
But at the same time, how many times have you seen somebody keeping an Oscar in a...
I agree.
In a smaller tank?
You have to ask the breeders to give a shit, is what I'm saying. The breeders are going to have to be like, yo, I'll take money. I'll cut my money down so that the world could be better for Oscars. And that's not going to happen. The breeders would have to be okay with making less money because they would be selling less.
I see Ed's point that it's a lack of education. I don't think it's a lack of education. I think most people, that's not true. That's not true. Well,
I get where you're going.
Here it is. It's kind of one of those things where a lot of people assume incorrectly. It's not assume. Assume's not the right word. They go into it again thinking, in a year I'm going to have the funds to be able to get the upgrade for it, and that year rolls around and they haven't been able to, for whatever circumstances in life. You got to do a car repair. You had to go pay a bill that you forgot. Things will take priority over buying that upgrade, because at the end of the day, it's a fish. It's just, and I think that, what's that?
I'll talk about what Mike Hunt's saying. Go ahead. After.
Yeah. And I think that's what the problem is. I think most of these people have the education, the understanding that the fish is going to get very big, but they overestimate what their ability to be able to, in the future, be able to set it up. And that's why I hear a lot of the people that keep these fish consistently will say, don't buy the fish thinking that in a few months you're going to be able to buy the right size.
Yeah.
Get the tank first, the one that's gonna be appropriate for it, and then buy the fish. But people are impulsive
They're
in nature, and
impulsive.
that's why I'm thinking if the pricing were to reflect the size of the fish, it would prevent a lot of impulse purchases. Now,
It would.
if you're somebody that really wants that fish, you're gonna obviously try to save up the money and then do everything. I feel that it would be a little bit better because you're not gonna throw away a $500 fish just because you couldn't house it adequately. In my that's but I don't know.
I
Maybe I'm
agree.
way off base.
I agree with you, but like Mike Hunt was saying, well, if that happens, the quality per fish would go up, where people would do more culling. And while I agree with all that, at the end of the day, that means you would have to tell these breeders and ask these breeders to take a huge cut in how much they're making. They're making money on volume, not on it. Maybe the home breeder is making money on quality, but a lot of people are making money on volume. So instead of selling this fish at a high price, they're going to sell it at a low price. They're just going to do a lot of it, and it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get these breeders to be like, you know what? Yeah, go ahead, sell my fish for 3 times or 4 more times what it's cost, really, just so that people won't buy as much of them. They're not going to be able to sell as many, and they're going to lose out, and they're not going to do that. Whether it's right or wrong, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to purposely take a pay cut for the sake of the fish and other people feeling good about it, the industry. They're not,
Yeah, that's always, and it's funny because if you go outside of the United States,
yeah,
the pricing of the fish really does reflect, a lot more of that aspect of it. Like if you go to Europe, even tetras are a lot more expensive than what we're paying for them here. Instead of pennies on the dollar, they start, they start costing a little bit more. But I don't know if they have that issue with them having too many people with monster fish. One of the things that I do notice is especially the differences between the United States and a lot of these other countries. Here in the States, we're more prone to keeping monster fish. It's a whole genre, right? Monster fish keeping,
or a lot of fish.
Yeah, but I think even more because you see a lot of fish is a little bit easier to resolve the issue versus having these big, massive fish that require these tremendous, size tanks to be able to house them adequately. And
Yeah.
I don't see that happening too much outside of the United States.
No.
They do exist. I mean,
Yeah, but not in the amount that we do.
channels, but here you type in right now in the search monster fish, and you're going to come across a lot of channels that were in the American continent. That you'll find more channels that deal with that versus anywhere else in the world. And it's not that they don't keep them everywhere else in the world, but it's not as prevalent as it is here.
And if they do keep a monster fish, it's like one monster fish, whereas Americans got like a whole, like I got 5 tanks with monster fish in it. Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're a lot more.
There's this one channel that I came across. It's a young kid, and this is the kid. He's in high school, and the only reason I haven't even really plugged him is because I don't necessarily believe in what he's doing. He's set up a rescue. He's a teenager, and he's got a rescue for monster fish, and all he has is a bunch of like those plastic pools that, like, the ones with the frame on them, and he's just collecting a bunch of these fish, and I'm thinking, dude, you're gonna get to a point where even those fish are gonna outgrow those pools. And yeah, you might sell 1 or 2, but I can see you're not reinvesting that money to create a bigger housing or a way to keep them. and he doesn't stop.
Bro,
Every day he's doing a video that he's getting a red tail catfish, he's getting an arowana, he's getting all this. And at that point, I'm thinking this has become more for content and not so much because of the fish.
we're gonna have to do a live stream on fish rescues. Honest to God, we really do. I have my opinion on fish rescues, and most people have the same opinion. But I think a lot of us have thought to ourselves, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if I set up a fish rescue?" I know I've thought about it, and then I had to sit back and be like, "Hold on, wait, why am I setting up a fish rescue?" And the purpose of the why is the fish rescue exist? Like, why did this person do that? Granted, we'll never know the exact, that only that person knows, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I fish rescues are funny to me.
Well, and it's one of those things where, look, I see this more with the younger kids. I think this whole thing of becoming a YouTuber is kind of like a newer generation kind of thing, where I hear Drew talk about this all the time, where his high school students, when they ask him, what do you want to do for a living, is, I want to be a content creator, I want to be social media famous. And it's interesting because I know growing up that was never a thing.
Well, we didn't have social media.
Yeah, you were looking to get into a field that would hopefully pay you enough to sustain a family, buy a home, do all these things that, what the quote unquote American dream. But in today's society, anybody can become famous for nothing. And I think, prime example of that are the Kardashians, right? They're the ones that everybody tries to aspire to get to that potential. Okay, I see you have a rebuttal.
The Kardashians did not get famous for nothing.
I know. It started out with a video.
Famous because of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah,
she went ahead and she worked her butt off, boy.
Well, that was Mama. Mama put that together. But what I'm saying is, yeah, she's the one that orchestrated all that.
She filmed her daughter and Ray J.
Well, she's the one that suggested it.
Oh man, well, I guess it was a family thing, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a family affair. Well, but what I'm getting at is, it's one of those things where up until that point, people had to have some sort of a talent to be able to.
Talent. Well, she had a lot of talent, big talent.
In the advent, I guess, of reality TV, that's really what it came down to, where it gave the possibility of people to garner fame for just the sake of being famous, nothing else.
I got you.
And I think, unfortunately, that's also translated where a lot of she literally worked.
Well,
she did.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, the pretext to YouTube famous was reality TV with MTV. What was it? MTV
Road Trip? No,
it was everybody lived in one house.
Yeah,
it was MTV something.
One World, or Small World, One World.
No, MTV. Oh, what was it?
Something World.
Real World. MTV. World. That was the first reality TV where people got famous for doing stupid crap in public.
Yeah.
The very first one. Yeah, Real World. Hey, listen. I hate to cut this short, but I gotta go have lunch.
Okay.
Well, I it's something that got sprung on me right before we went live.
Do your thing, man.
We don't have a lot of time, just me and her without the girls. So she wants to go somewhere and be like adults. We don't have so
nice. Well, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah. But we definitely gotta do one someday on we definitely gotta do one day on fish rescues.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's are we gonna pull the grenade on the pin on the grenade?
I mean, I don't want it to be like that, but I don't see how it can't be like that.
That's what it is. I mean, is there really a legitimate rescue? I mean, what at the end of the day, what exactly is a rescue? Well, we don't want to get into that now. Let's save that for another day. I just want to say thank you guys for coming in, especially so early in the morning, especially if you're on the West Coast. It's only 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the East Coast when we started. I kind of liked it. It's something different. Typically for me and you, we don't normally go this early, but I thought it was a good turnout.
Good turnout.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have to revisit this time at a future date.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Sorry to cut this short, but we gotta adult in this world eventually. See you guys later. You guys have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Later.
Vámonos.